this button. I think we should be good. I think we're in.
Woo!
We're in. Hi, everyone.
The Matrix. Hello.
Oh wait, no, I have to do Lily's. No, you do Lily's intro bit. The first part.
Hello there.
Yeah, otherwise.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I never know how to do this when Lily's not here. I always get a little bit like, hi. I'm also
Like we're on
suddenly aware,
camera.
aware that there's a lot of light. Okay, I think we're good. Sorry. Hi. We're in. I'm starting. Hello. Hi, Lily.
So smooth.
I'm really good at this when you're not on it with me. It's fine. Hello. I didn't prep how I was going to start this properly.
I'm
Brian.
Brian.
No, I should do my intro. I forgot about that part. Jesus Christ. It's been a bit of a week or 2 weeks, I guess. So let's start this way I usually start this. Hello, and welcome to all the films we judged before. Shut up. I'm Katie. This is Brian.
Hiya.
Lily's going to be distracting me the entire episode because I can see her in the chat. It's
Gotta
fine.
mute her in the chat.
No, it's fine. She's there. She's our engagement for today. It's good.
Yeah.
I did momentarily forget how I did my intro then. Like I said, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I've had a brain thing. I've had a headache for basically 2 weeks. I am okay, but clearly it's having an effect.
Did you go to get an MRI?
I'm going to the doctors on Monday just to see
Okay.
if there's anything up with it. But I think it's just I'm a chronic migraine haver, so it's just not very fun. But yes,
Sorry to hear that.
That's fine. It's fine. My brain isn't hurting right now, which means we can get on with doing the podcast. I actually have news because I've been very lax on doing the news because we've been so all over the place, and I thought I really should get back on top of doing news bits and pieces. We will be talking about The Bear season 3 today, and I have so many pages of notes. It has been a couple of weeks since I watched because I watched it all in a day. So thank God I did take notes.
You watched it all in a day?
Yeah, I watched it all in a day.
Wow.
To be fair, they're not very long, but
Yeah.
but I did watch it. That was my plan. I actually did. I was very on top of things that day because I watched the entire season of The Bear and I also watched A Quiet Place for the first time. So I got my stuff in order that day. But it means that I've been very ahead of myself the past couple of weeks. So news. We're going to start with the news because I have it here in front of me. Most of my news, I've got quite a lot of stuff on trailers, but I've got a couple of other bits and pieces that I managed to cobble together to talk about. So I'm going to start with, because a lot of trailers got released in the past, honestly, week, and they're all interesting. I've got thoughts on a fair few of them. Starting off with the fact that Marvel released both the trailer for Agatha All Along, their new TV series about Agatha Harkness, and the new Captain America, which came out today. The trailer, not the movie, obviously. Wild if the movie just suddenly came out with no marketing. Surprise! Here it is. No, both of those trailers came out. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I quite liked the Agatha trailer. It's very witchy, and I'm enjoying that immensely, which probably shouldn't be surprising, but it's really witchy. Fun witchy. Got a lot of cool stuff going on, and it looks like it's going to have an element of weird, which I want always. And I think it seems I'm very intrigued by it. That one has me very interested, and then obviously the new Captain America one looks good. It feels very reminiscent of the previous Captain America movies, which I think is a good sign. And I'm pretty on board with that. And obviously Harrison Ford is always great. And it will obviously be. Are you all right over there?
Yeah, I was just adjusting my setting in my earpods. It's all good.
Just great face.
Brain
It's
freeze faces.
Yeah, Harrison Ford is always great. I don't know anything about Red Hulk. I know everybody's very excited about it, but this is what I get for being a simpleton who doesn't read comics.
There's a lot to keep track of, to be
Um,
fair.
yeah, I did note Isaiah in the trailer taking a shot at Harrison Ford's playing the president, right? That's what I got.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I again, I've had a headache for a couple of weeks. I've forgotten
Well,
everything.
I'll do a fact check
Minor. Wait,
while you're
if we
talking.
wait long enough, Lily will be able to tell us in the chat. Sure. But I'm pretty. Yeah, I'm like 90% sure that he is the president. That's the impression I got. I mean, yeah, whole thing on it gives the impression of like
Yep. Yep.
a
Newly elected U.S. president. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, because yeah, he was recast from somebody else who was playing General Ross, who is,
Yeah.
and
Well,
I
yeah.
can't
Yeah.
remember
That
who
was
used
originally.
to be him.
That was.
John
That was
Hurt.
William Hurt. William Hurt. William Hurt.
William Hurt?
I think. Is it William Hurt?
No,
Hold
it's
on.
John Hurt, isn't it? John Hurt with the voice.
No,
And
it's William Hurt. John Hurt. No, John Hurt was. He died. I think
yeah, I know,
before
but
'cause he
like
died. He was Doctor Who.
yeah. Hang on. I'm hearing two different things, and that.
William
Okay,
Hurt.
it's William Hurt. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lily. You lied
Yeah.
to me. Anyway, it all looks very interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Both look, yeah, well, this is what I said. I both look a lot more put together than previous stuff that Marvel's put out, which feels promising. I'm still waiting to see. We'll see.
Yeah.
You know, can't judge anything yet because it's not out. But when did it say that? No, it was next February, wasn't it? The new Captain America.
I'm not
I
sure.
should.
I'm on the. Hold on. I'll also fact check
No, that I'm
Uh,
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure about that one. I
okay,
should have
cool.
written that one down. Yeah, February for that one, and then Agatha is out in September. If
It's Valentine's Day, February 14th.
there you go. Yeah. So that all seems cool. Gladiator 2 trailer also dropped. I said this when it dropped. The trailer actually looks really good, and I do need to watch Gladiator. Lily, if you act surprised at it again, I swear to God, I will get on that at some point before the movie comes out. But movie looks really good, and I'm becoming more of a Paul Mescal fan with every passing thing he does.
He's
Basically.
great. And Pedro. Good to see Pedro in there too.
Yes, Pedro and Joe Quinn looks like he's going to be playing a deranged little strange boy, and I'm very excited for that. I love a weird guy. Yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to that. I don't like the music choice in the trailer. It's the second time he's done this, and it annoys me.
What
But
was it?
I digress.
No Church on a Wild with Frank Ocean and Kanye and Jay-Z.
It's
That
just,
song, right?
it's like, I don't mind. It feels like such a weird tonal choice to me. Lily isn't here, but she does disagree with me. But and I felt the need to express her opinion on her behalf. But it's the set. He did this with the Napoleon trailer as well, and I remember thinking it was weird at the
Yes.
time. I still think it's weird. I digress. The trailer still looks really good, and I will be seated for it when it comes out. And then finally, because I've got a lot of feelings about this trailer as well. I called this the wrong thing when I wrote it. I wrote it in our WhatsApp group earlier, but it's called "We Live in Time," which is the rom-com with Andrew Garfield, and it's not a rom-com though. That trailer's not like it looked
No.
like a rom-com, and yet I saw it described
No.
as a rom-com. I was like, just because it's
like
kind
a
of
dra-
funny doesn't make it a comedy. That's a drama.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's more like a romantic drama.
It looks
Probably.
like a romantic drama. I feel like we've forgotten the idea that romantic movies can just be romantic dramas as opposed to rom-coms. I think that's just become shorthand. No, it doesn't look like a comedy. I also can't figure out what the point of the movie is yet. Because to me, I watched it and I went, this looks like every other romantic drama about a terminally ill person that I have ever seen. So I want to know what the selling point is, because it feels like it should have one, but it's not being given
Yeah,
to us.
it could be. Well, it could be that they're withholding it, which I because it's A24, so I'm
Yeah,
sure
well,
there's some
this
sort
is
of
the
trick
thing.
up their
This is
sleeve.
why my brain is
Yeah.
like, there's something else going on. I mean, yeah, the obvious thing is that there's going to be some kind of time element to it. It looks like it's going to
Also,
be out of sequence.
yeah, well, it's written by Nick Payne, who famously did Constellations with Ruth Wilson, Jake Gyllenhaal. So that whole thing is out of sequence.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he's a brilliant writer. He did A Life with Jake Gyllenhaal too on
Okay.
Broadway. It was a one person show. So
Hmm.
I think also the selling point is the writer as well. Also, you
Yeah.
have Florence Pugh, you have Andrew
I can
Garfield.
see a lot of things that do
So
sell it. I just can't see what in the story is meant to sell it yet because it seems really generic to me. So my question
mm,
becomes, why are we telling this story
I guess we'll
now
have to watch it and
and
find out.
with these people? Well, this is the thing. Usually you can get a sense of these things from the trailer, and I couldn't, and it's annoying
I know it's
me.
great. I love it. It's good. It's good for us.
I'm
We'll have to watch it to find out.
yeah, I want to. I'm very interested to immediately off the back of that. I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear a review of it, just to get a
Yeah.
sense of what like audience reaction will be towards it, so I can get a
Yeah.
sense of like
Yeah. Yeah.
the vibe, because it's annoying me that I can't pin down the vibe at the moment.
I love it. I love that. It's great.
It's like that little bit in the middle. It's like I like there's yeah there's I don't mind a little bit of like, oh, I wonder what this could be, but at the moment all it's reading to me is like, huh, why are we making this story? I feel like I've seen this story a lot. um
Mm.
so I'm thinking there has to be something about the actual story itself that has to be different as well, not just the way it's told. I don't know, we'll see. I'm going to move on to the rest of my news, which is not trailer related. I'm going to get this one out of the way just because I have other ones in here, and it feels like it's such a weird one to plonk in the middle. Shelley Duvall passed away. I think it was last night.
Oh, it's 75, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
75, which is, I mean, I'm going to be a lot younger than I thought she was. But
Mm.
it's just,
Mm.
sad. We
She had a
lost,
difficult life from the
yeah,
sounds of it all. Yeah.
um, you know, somebody kind of iconic like that is always upsetting, and I just want to take a
Yeah.
moment for that. And then promptly move straight on to other things. I don't know how to transition out of that without it feeling strange.
I think it's always going to feel
It's
strange
just going to be a bit
regardless.
strange. I'm just like,
Yeah.
rest in
Okay.
peace. Next up,
Yeah.
Thursday Murder Club, which is an adaptation of the book by Richard Osmond, British institution Richard Osmond,
Mm. Mm.
has just started filming for Netflix. I don't know if you have seen this cast, but it is fucking stacked with British like legends.
No.
Let
No, I
me get
haven't.
the cast up because it looks like it's going to be really. I mean, these books have done very very well, and Richard Osman is very well loved by people here. I'm stalling so I can find the actual cast list.
I can throw in a bit of news if you'd like
No,
while
no,
you're looking
no,
for it.
it's alright. I got it. We've got Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, Ben Kingsley,
Yeah.
Tom Ellis, David Tennant, Richard E. Grant,
Oh.
Jonathan Price.
Mhm.
um, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a lot of other people in here as
It's a
well, but
lot. Yeah.
we've got some pretty, iconic British like actors, in
That'd be
here.
cool.
And I love a murder mystery, so I'm always down for that. Um, but yeah, they've literally just started filming that. Their production just started. The cast came out a couple of weeks ago, but it was all. I'm very excited for whenever that decides to appear, and whenever they're done with
Mm.
it. The next couple of things, literally, I saw pretty much today. So these are fresh news. Euphoria season 3 has just been given a production start date. I am honestly
Right.
surprised they're still making it.
Yeah. No. Me too. Me too. Given
It's been
everything, and
Euphoria has been such a strange production cycle anyway, because it was so long between the first and second seasons, mostly because of the pandemic. But now between seasons 2 and 3, half of their cast has become really big stars.
Really famous, and there's also
Great.
a lot of controversy as
Yeah,
well too.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
with the
uh,
show's creator.
it's due to start filming in January. I never finished season. I got maybe 2 or 3 episodes in season 2, and then went, "This is soft pornography," and turned it off. I just was like, I don't feel good about watching this right now, and then I never went back to it. But I don't know. Yeah, it's just Sam Livingston. I don't feel right about that guy
Yeah,
in a
no,
lot
I
of
have
ways.
some weird feelings.
Weird
Yeah.
feelings. I am just like from an outside perspective interested to see what it becomes. Um, I can't imagine them going any further beyond a third. Um, see, oh, apparently you're very weak, so I'm going to turn you up here.
Oh, I am.
It's fine. It's probably on my end because I turn it down a lot for Lily's microphone. So I've just turned you up.
Ah,
I think
ah.
we should be okay. Lily, let me know if
Woo!
he's a bit he starts peaking too much,
Because I didn't go
please.
to the gym. Is that why I'm so weak? Oh no. Should have eaten my cornflakes this morning. Oh boy.
Oh boy. Anyway, I'm moving along because otherwise I'll get distracted and we have other things to talk about. Thank you, Nick.
I have a. Can I throw in a piece of
Oh
news?
yeah, sure.
Not Eminem related. It's not about the new album, which did come out last night. There's a TV show. It's an adaptation of the graphic novel Criminals that's being shot in Portland.
Okay.
And Amelia Clark is set to play one of the main characters. So it's
Ooh.
starting filming, I think, this coming month, either August, I think August or September.
Oh, cool.
So
That's neat.
kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah, that is fun.
local news.
What else have I got in here? Um, Severance season 2 finally has a fucking release date, and it's not for another 6 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I just the first season of Severance kind of came out of nowhere and was kind of brilliant. I was also saying this earlier. Apple TV's doing a lot with a lot of really interesting sci-fi at the moment, and I think some of the best sci-fi that is coming out of TV at the moment. I've just started Silo. I watched 3 episodes today, and it's fucking fantastic. I'm aware I'm late to the
Mm,
party. It came out a little while ago at this point, but it's really good.
I need to
um,
watch it. I haven't seen it yet.
um, the third episode was so tense. I had to sit up and was just
Yeah.
like kind of
Sorry to
pulling
about the
my hair
bear.
out, that kind of thing, as I was
Yeah.
going through. And as I said, I love Rebecca Ferguson. I love
Yeah,
Rebecca
she's
Ferguson
brilliant.
so much.
She's
Um,
fantastic.
I will kind of watch her and everything. I'm still annoyed
Mm.
about the last Mission Impossible movie for reasons that are related to Rebecca Ferguson. If you haven't seen the last Mission Impossible movie, I won't spoil it for you, but I am annoyed in little ways. And then finally, because I literally just saw this news before we started, Emerald Fennell is making a Wuthering Heights movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That'll be interesting.
that will be interesting. Wuthering Heights
Yeah.
is my best friend's favorite book. It's
Oh, interesting.
one of his like all time favorite novels. I think it is still his favorite. I would have to double check with him, but I know he's done a lot of study on it when he was doing his
Mm,
master's
mm.
degree, and before that as well. So I will let him decide whenever it comes out. I'm gonna like ask his opinion on it because he's the one I would trust
Delegate it to him.
about an actual adaptation of Wuthering Heights. But I just
I
thought,
just love. Oops, sorry to
no,
interrupt
go
you.
ahead. No, I was kind of just
Uh.
finishing a thought. Please continue.
Oh, please finish your thought.
I mean, that was kind of the end of the thought. I was going to ramble on to the end of a sentence. I just was.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
It
fine.
just came to my brain like
Go.
the Last of Us season 2
Oh
wrapped
yeah, that's true.
filming.
I
Yep.
did
So
see
that was
that.
another big piece of news. So, yeah,
I kind of
this week.
forgot that was filming. I won't lie. I I feel
It
like I
might be. They're
vaguely
saying
knew
that.
that it started, but like
Yeah,
I feel like that seemed very quick. I know
quick.
that
Yeah.
Neil's
Do it.
not in Canada anymore. I don't know if that meant that they were finishing filming or not.
I think they did because I think the Last of Us TV show also. I think they must have wrapped the entire production because I think it's like season 2. Let me. You know what? Before I make that claim, I'm gonna fact check again. How about
um,
that?
yeah, no,
Um.
because I saw the picture, but to be fair, I didn't read it particularly closely. But the impression I got because Neil was saying I've enjoyed my time in Canada. I thought that he was just leaving
Oh,
and like was done being, but I suppose he's so involved in it, he
this could be
probably would be at
very
the end of.
possible.
Yeah, I know. Filming since April, which I don't know, just for how big season 2 seems like it's a big. 3 months
I
doesn't
I
seem
am
long enough.
complete. I'm completely wrong.
Hooray!
So yeah.
Please, please thank me.
So never mind. Just edit out that live bit of what I said, because that's
Unfortunately, I
possible.
can't do that. But was I right? Was he? Is he just done in being there?
Yeah, so he said, my time can has come to an end. Can't wait to see what you guys are cooking up in the future.
Okay, so yeah, they've still got a bit to go.
Yeah.
I thought that would because yeah, April to now doesn't seem like long enough, to be honest.
No, it'd be concerning. Though
um,
they're having set pictures of Bella and who's the actor who's playing Dina. I can't remember
oh,
her name.
I
She
don't
was in that.
actually know. But that's fun.
Yeah,
I
but
try
it
not to
was
look
cool.
at set pictures.
Oh, really?
Unless they like really just immediately come up in my face. But I'm also just
Yeah.
a little bit because I don't want to see anything, but also because I get annoyed at the fact that people go out of their way to start like taking pictures of like production stuff that's meant to be under wraps.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. That's
guys,
very true.
please. Isabel McCreed, thank you both Lily and Ian who has shown up. Hi Ian.
Grazie mille. Isabel
But
Creed.
that
Yep.
is
He was good. And
that's the end of my news. Um,
cool. Should we talk
uh,
about the bear?
do you want to? Yeah, I was going to ask if you've been watching anything
Watch
recently.
anything?
We're going to
The
transition
bear.
on to that. We've been watching
Uh,
the Bears. Very true.
yeah,
Have you been
lots of
watching
because
anything
I
else?
had never seen I had never seen the show, so I went to Tennessee 2 weeks ago,
Oh
and
wow.
my friend was like, "We're gonna watch the," which is good timing. He's like, "We're gonna watch the Bear." So we watched all of season one in 3 days. Shout out to Calvin, my good friend, and then watched season two on my own, and then season three came out like a couple days later, so it was perfect. And then I was promptly disappointed, which kind of like sets up for yeah, it's okay. I won't go. There's specific reasons why, but aside from that, have been watching anything else? No, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I'm not particularly interested either.
Oh,
Oh, go on.
the TV show The Gentleman by Guy Ritchie.
Oh yeah, that one.
'Cause
You didn't seem particularly impressed
yeah,
by that when
'cause
you said it.
yeah, well, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's gotten better. The first like two episodes, like I started watching because I can't remember his name. Is it Pete something? Is it Pete or James? Bloody hell, I think it's Pete. The main actor, the main guy, he
Theo
went to
James.
Bristol. Theo, I was
But
completely
his
wrong.
last name is James,
Um,
so you were in the right place.
okay. Ballpark. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Theo James, he went to Bristol. He graduated a couple years before me.
Mm,
So I have some friends that know him. And I was like, okay. And he's really, really solid in that role.
mm.
I was just interested in seeing, I just want something to kind of come off of from The Bear because it was so intense.
Yeah.
It's a much lighter show, even though it's far more violent. It's not, I would say, like my favorite thing I've seen, but it's entertaining and it's kind of getting me through kind of a rough period right now in my life
Good.
just to
Well,
watch.
I'm glad
So
that
how
you've
about
got
you?
something fun.
Thank you.
Um, Sorry, just finishing something up there. Yeah, no, I've
Yeah,
not
no
been watching
worries.
a whole lot because I've been finishing off the newest Final Fantasy 14 expansion, Dawn
Oh
Trail,
yeah.
which I
Yeah,
um sorry, I'm just going to go back a little bit to clarify. Sweet Home comes out next Friday. Our review of it comes
right,
out the Friday afterwards. Um,
right.
that's all I was trying to clarify. Sorry, I was just typing to the both of them in the chat. Because we're going to be using next week to talk about the boys and Acolyte. Um,
Cool, cool.
Lily wants me to tell you to watch Sweet Home.
Yes, I will do that. I've watched all of Acolyte. I have been watching that too.
Mhm.
I probably won't join in with the boys. I've just been, it's too much for me this season.
No, I
So
understand entirely. But
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Lily's counting down the days to Sweet Home, so you have 2 weeks for that one.
Okay. Okay, well that's a lot of time. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would recommend peppering it out over a little bit of time because I think it is a little bit intense. So I would start it sooner rather than later. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, okay.
Um,
Thank you.
but yes, what was I saying before? Oh, I've been playing Dawn Trail. I finished it today. Literally today, I finished,
Congratulations.
and it was very good. It's not my favorite expansion, but it was still very good. Got me crying a lot. I mean, Jesus Christ! And also, I had to. They gave me like one cutscene with some premium Jonathan Bailey acting, um, and it was just. It was like the moment it finished, I was like, I'm saving that and I'm holding on to it forever. Um,
No.
I mean, he plays my favorite character. That's very fun for me. But yeah, it was very good. But it means I haven't really been watching a whole lot. But it means that
Yeah.
now I've finished that, I'm giving myself a little bit of break before I get into it. There's a couple of bits of like side content, so that's why I have started Silo.
Mm.
just to give myself a bit of a break.
A little buffer
And
room.
also, yeah, little buffering room. Sorry, I had to. My brain was like, hang on, pause for a second, process that, then continue talking. Um, a little bit of buffering room. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. But now that's out of the way. Now we should get on the bear.
To the bear, the
To the
bear, the
bear.
bear. Yeah.
The
Oh
bear.
boy.
I think
Yeah.
to start off with, because you only just started watching the bear, because I got into
Yeah.
the bear. I'm going to keep saying the bear over and over and over again. Hi, we're talking about the bear now. That's to the one
What was the
guy
show?
who. It's called the
The
bear. I
cat?
don't know if you.
The dog. Oh, the bear. My
The
bad.
bear.
Okay.
The one guy who watched our Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes review and got annoyed just before we actually started talking about the movie. He was like, 30 minutes in and they haven't even started talking about the film yet. It's like, yeah, if you waited 2 minutes longer, we would have gotten into talking about the film. But
Yeah,
I
well,
digress.
the famous podcast 70 millimeter also does that too. They do like 30 minutes of like talking about other things and then they start. So, yeah, that was my Valley Girl California
It's
explanation
beautiful.
for
I
that.
love it.
So we're just
Um,
doing the same thing as other podcasts.
which
Yeah.
is it's fine. This show has a format. Yeah, I
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
watching The Bear in 2022 when I was working at my old job. And I just because like obviously season one took everybody by fucking storm, so I started
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like I was hooked immediately. And I love and was I'm just so glad that it's one of those shows that actually seems to come out yearly as opposed to taking about 3 years for another seasons to come out, which seems to be the
Yeah.
way with a lot of production cycles on TV at the moment, which annoys the shit out of me. And I feel like that shouldn't be the case considering how many other years of like excellent TV we've had before that have come out on a yearly basis. But I digress. That's not the point of this chat. But you have been watching. I
Sorry. This is I appreciate that tangent mini rant.
Thank you. But you watched it all. You had to catch up on the whole thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
after watching, because I watched season one over a couple of days, just because I had
Mm.
work to do.
Yeah.
But I watched season two the day it came out, all in one day, and then I watched season three
Oh
the day it
gosh.
came out, all in one
How
day.
do you do that? How do you watch all of it in one day? Oh,
I
it's so
have been
intense.
doing this for a very long time.
Okay. You're an
Um,
expert.
yeah, no, genuinely, my most of my teenage years was spent watching like 22 episode season shows in very truncated periods of time. I'm very
Okay.
practiced at this.
Whew. Right.
This bear, nothing. I could eat.
This is child's play. What are you talking about?
I don't
Yeah.
know if you know this, but when I watched The West Wing, I did it in 2 weeks, all of it.
How many seasons?
7.
Oh my gosh.
I was
Bloody hell.
I mean,
Okay,
I
all right.
went full
That's
hyper
impressive.
focus on that one. The only time I
Sure.
actually had to take a proper break when I was watching The Bear was when season two came out. Was after I watched Fishes, because that episode is
Yeah, sure.
in fucking tense, and I was like,
It's
I do
that's
need
not
a
a
break after that one.
it's not a fun one. It's not a fun
It's
one.
an
I
excellent
feel
episode of television, though.
I I'm gonna be controversial. I prefer forks.
Oh no, lots of people do.
Yeah.
I
I mean, yeah,
I
yeah,
understand
yeah.
entirely why, but like season two was full of some absolute bangers. Um,
Yes. Yeah. I think season one and two are there's yeah. I would say I don't know which one I like more. I think season two in some ways is stronger in
mhm.
some moments in terms of character development. Season one feels more cohesive.
I think that's very true.
And then season three, yeah, we're gonna ask my
Well,
thoughts
yeah,
about it because I
yeah.
can just go
Please
into
tell me your thoughts.
yeah. I thought it was meandering. I
Hmm.
thought it was what is going to be two seasons because they filmed
Uh-huh.
three and four back to back. Two seasons that was really one. They just split up.
Mhm.
No one really changes. No one really
Mhm.
develops.
Mhm.
It's just a lot of like fuck you, cousin. Hey, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Everyone pretty much ends up in the same place that they started,
Mhm.
aside from Natalie and maybe Donna. Kind
Mhm.
of, maybe we don't really know. Um, and I thought the last three episodes were was it the last three? Maybe the last two. Because I did there are moments of the birth episode that I really enjoyed, and then some of it I just thought was the acting I thought was phenomenal. Excuse me. The last two episodes were extraordinarily boring. Nothing happened. It was called Apologies, and no one actually like resolved anything with anyone, really. I hated that scene where Carmi goes into the freezer and they play like that. It's the Nine Inch Nails song again, which I thought was cool, really effectively done in season 2, episode 10. But then he doesn't apologize. So what was the point of that? And it goes on for like 5 minutes. And then the bloody last episode is half of the fucking episode is 20 minutes of real chefs talking,
I'm
and it felt
gonna
just very, very, very pretentious. So,
calm it
anyways,
down
yeah,
just a
that's my
little bit
thoughts.
because I want to get into specifics about it. You have
Okay,
summed up a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of the 6 pages of thoughts that I've had.
Oh,
I don't
brilliant, good, good,
feel
good, yeah.
quite as so. Like I said, I watched it 2 weeks ago. I feel less angry about it. I wasn't angry. I was just
I
frustrated. I was
yeah.
really annoyed when I finished the season. Um,
Yeah, sure. And
uh,
to preface, I'm dealing with a loss of a family friend, so some of this is also that coming out too,
yeah,
just to let you
I
know.
vibe with
So
that
for anyone
entirely.
listening too, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
no,
It doesn't
and
really matter
it's
that
no,
much. The
but
show
no.
doesn't matter that
I
much.
think it makes a huge difference about how we read media as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
in that like after I watched Gen V like not long after I found out that we were putting one of my dogs down.
Mm,
And it I was in a I hated the whole season mostly
yeah,
because I was in a really bad place anyway. So you have it's like it's very
yeah.
hard to be able to accept something as it is when you're in kind of an emotional state. But at the same time, sometimes those emotional states can give us an even more like
Mm,
a more that's not what I'm looking for, like an intense and a positive
sorry, somebody just turned on over there.
impression. Why are my words not working? I know what
No,
I
that's okay.
mean.
Are
Um,
you trying to say that kind of what you're saying, I'm guessing, is sometimes it can give you more insight into certain aspects? I
yeah,
think,
you resonate with it a lot more because of whatever
sure.
you're going through. Because I love. I mean, I've got a real. One of the things we learned about when I was still studying film, was this idea of spectatorship theory, and the
Mm,
fact that every single person will never read the same piece of media the
yeah,
same way because
it's
of the
amazing.
experiences that they are going to bring to it. So you can't like you can never entirely judge other people's like reactions to something as wrong, but I am also a very big proponent of people recognizing that their specific reactions to something are specific to them and not an overall
It's
indictment of the thing that they are watching.
it's within their paradigm of what they've experienced and where they're at,
Exactly.
for
Which
sure.
is why I'm
Yeah,
big into separating the idea of something being good from something that you like something. So if you hate something but also it's good, being able to recognize
yeah,
that
yeah,
compared to liking something that's really bad. Like,
yeah,
I think that
yeah.
that
And
helps move your perspective on things.
I totally agree. And then just to clarify, I didn't hate this season at all. I just found it disappointing
I understand.
and frustrating, like you said.
Mm.
I thought it was kind of a waste of a season of what they could have done. I felt like in a lot of ways they could have maybe done this whole season in 5 episodes, which is obviously the original plan,
I
from
vibe.
what I've heard.
Oh,
And
really?
that really upset me.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's what I heard, that there was talk and then it got separated into two. This was supposedly what I was told.
Hmm.
Um,
I
and
could see
which
that
makes sense
definitely
when you look
being
at
a
it like
thing.
that.
I'm going to read a
Yeah.
couple of my thoughts because my immediate thoughts were first thought, ugh, because that was my first like feeling after I finished the season. I was like, ugh. I was just
Yeah.
irritated. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I again, I would also want to preface that I actually think that this season is a lot stronger than people are giving it credit for. Because there's a lot of people who hate it and I
Yeah,
think it's
sure.
terrible, but I don't think it's bad. I just think it's yeah, there's elements with it are frustrating. Will Poulter being back is a high point. I will not lie to you. The fact that he's in it in places, I wish he was in it more. Is my thing.
Can I jump off? Because
Yeah,
maybe this will be the format. I'll just jump off because you have formulated
please
notes.
go.
I love that he was back in it. I hated how they changed his character. I felt like season 2, there's a very clear character of him being almost like Carmy, but like more chill,
Mm,
very clear, very decisive, warmer than Carmy is in
mm,
some ways. Carmy can be really warm though too, but with Marcus, he's not a jerk. He's when he says that's worse, he's never out of spite or
mm.
it's ever malicious, just trying to help. Whereas I thought they just made him kind of like a goofy like dork in this one. I was like,
I don't
oh,
know.
just
I
to
thought
bring
that
in
was kind of
comedy.
cute that we got a different side to him.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I think it's just kind of sweet.
Okay. Yeah.
It didn't change him that much. I think we just got another side to him because we saw him before in a very
Okay.
professional environment, and now we're seeing him in a much more like social environment. And I think it just like gives you a different perspective on a person. My second thought is just very specifically, kind of to your point. I feel like I just watched half a movie. It teased
Yeah.
and brought up so many breaking points, but none of them to resolution, and it was actively infuriating. Um,
Wait, 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 Katie, you don't love the fact that it ended with to be continued, and you don't love the fact that Carmi never visits his niece,
it's
and
just
there's so much stuff
I've
that is just
got
left.
yeah. To be clear, I think we're going to be talking about spoilers at this point because we've said a couple of things.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I mean, I think that was
sorry, just trying to yeah, get it. But yes, I think we're gonna go from spoilers at this point. Pardon me. Um, yeah, it's just like um, I'm reticent to judge it properly because we haven't seen what is clearly the second half of this movie, in a sense, where it's like we're in peak middle book territory,
mm,
where
mm.
bye Lily, she's getting out of here so that she doesn't get spoiled too much. Um,
Ah,
yeah, it feels like we're in peak middle book territory or like middle like movie territory where we are in that point in the hero's journey where everything is fucked, right? That's a technical term.
the underworld.
As we all know, as a part of the hero's journey, there's a bit in the middle that's called everything's fucked. Or specifically in like the three act structure and whatnot. We're in that
Yeah.
point where, heroes and protagonists or whatever you want to call it, are most at odds with their highest good, or in a sense, in
Hmm.
the truth that they actually need to learn about themselves in order to become resolved in their character arc. And everybody's in that place at the moment, and it's so annoying because it meant that nothing got resolved. Um,
Yeah, and to me, sorry to interrupt, James, if it's
mm,
okay if I jump in, the
yeah.
part that really messed with me and got under my skin was the fact that that was the entire bloody season. It
Mm,
wasn't just, there was, I think within every season there should be that three act structure, even within like the
I
three act
agree.
structure of the story that they're telling, right? Like I thought Supernatural did a really good job of the first five seasons of that.
Hmm.
So like if you look at that, if people are familiar with it, I won't spoil that. Sorry that I spoiled the other stuff. But there's within each season there's a high, a middle, and a low, and then there's a resolution, right? And and then that also happens within the five seasons,
Mm.
which is what it was intended to be. I felt like there's none of that here. Everyone's just down and depressed and
It's
sullen the
it's
entire
just like
time
a
for this.
constant setting up of things that are clearly set to be resolved in this second half that
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
created, which makes for irritating watching. But I think there's still
yeah.
a lot of very good stuff in this season.
Oh, for
Um,
sure, for sure.
I know you didn't like it, but I actually think I actually quite like the way that that last episode is kind of. I like the way that they involve. Like, there's just these little moments of like documentary to give you a sense of like actual Chicago. I like those moments. I do think maybe there was a bit too many of them. Especially as we are watching a comedy drama. But I particularly liked that first episode. I actually thought that the after the
Me
chaotic
too.
nature of the end of season
Yeah.
two to come back in with this really quiet kind of retrospective, which was called Tomorrow in a really interesting way. And I wasn't sure if it was just going to be like the beginning of the episode, but as it kept going, I was like, oh, we're doing that. This is the episode. This is what we're doing, and
Yeah.
it's I think of quite a quiet and actually pretty decent setup of like where they go with the. I mean, even if they don't go very far with the the rest of the season, it is what they
Yeah.
are going. It's like this is is we've got chaos like but this is the calm
Yeah.
part, and then we're
Yeah.
going to go for the chaos, and I think it
Well,
shows that
what I thought
Kami is a
was,
fractured person, which I thought was really interesting.
yeah, I think I read someone like comment on like a Reddit page because I like looking at people's comments, seeing what people think about each episode. And
Mm.
someone said to them it felt like a hero's journey, like encapsulated. But then I was saying it's kind of like a villain arc in some ways, especially with this
Mm.
season. It's like it's no matter what, it's an origin story.
Mm.
Um, and you also see the sublimation of what Carmi does with food, why he like goes into it, why he's obsessed with it. And that to me, that kind of wraps up why I hated the first half of episode 10.
Mm.
And I did not, I hated is too strong a word. I heavily disliked it
Mm.
because it felt like it lost the plot, at least what I, and this may be just a bias or a misreading on my part of what I thought. This bloody thing keeps turning on. I hope you can't hear it.
No, it's
Sorry about
fine.
that.
I haven't heard anything. You're good.
It's the radiator. Uh, what I thought was maybe a misreading of the whole point of the show was that, there's different kinds of addiction and we deal with trauma in different ways. And
Hmm.
some of it's healthy and some of it's really, really not. Even though it might be serving other people, you can still be unhealthy with seemingly something like cooking or seemingly something, like different things, like serving people.
Mm.
Um, and it felt like that last episode was so aimless. Because I'm like, well, is this a celebration then of fine dining where you're obsessive and you have like the smallest little bite of food? Whereas before, it felt like Chicago and like that spirit was the point of it, and Carmen was healing, and like I
I
didn't
think
really
the
quite
the
understand what the
trouble
purpose
is
of,
at this point, Kami has was on the path to healing and then hit a massive break point and
of
regressed
course, with
massively.
Claire,
So we are in
right?
the stage where he's regressed. The annoying thing is we haven't seen him get past that stage yet. This is why I'm reticent to judge it properly because I feel like I haven't seen the entire story.
And this is the problem. And this is the problem with like episode 10 for me is like it's saying to me it's like too many things
Mm,
to be cohesive,
mm.
coherent. You have that bit with his old chef who was
I will
extraordinarily
say.
emotionally and verbally abusive.
Uh,
That was a really good
it was
moment.
a really good moment. I think Jeremy
Yeah,
played it
yeah.
really well. I did laugh so hard when he went, I think about you all the time. And he goes, I don't think about you at all.
I don't. Well, and I thought that was going to, and obviously, like, this is different interpretations of how I thought it was going to be. And I thought there's, maybe a different resolution to that scene than there was. But even with the resolution that we got, which I think was fine,
Mm.
to me, it didn't really
I
connect
don't
with the rest of the
think we
episode.
have resolution to that moment.
And that's the problem. It's like, so that it's like judging within a vacuum. It doesn't
It's
work. And so it doesn't, to
really
me, it doesn't hold up
difficult.
as a season of TV.
Yeah, because it's not a season
That's
of
my
TV,
problem.
it's half a season of TV.
Right.
This
Which
is the
to me
trouble with it.
sucks. Yeah, that
And
sucks.
I'm like, there's like the things that I liked about it are the moments in it. Whereas I think season two is extremely strong as an entire
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go into my next little paragraph here because
Yeah.
it's kind of my main frustration more than anything else. I will get into some of the stuff that I really liked because again, there are lots and lots of little pieces that I really liked in it. Sid and Kami need to have an actual fucking conversation.
Yeah, they keep putting it off. It's that
Neither of
they're
them
basically
are
doing
talking to each other.
they basically did that whole non-romantically, which I appreciate that they're not romantic. I would have been really annoyed if they changed because I think it's really good that they keep that friendship there, and
Mm.
it's a different relationship between a man and woman that you don't often see in
This is the
TV.
other thing
But
that I find very frustrating about being a fan of this show is that it seems like everybody else on the internet who is a fan of this show is obsessed with their or no, and I'm all for shipping. I understand. I even get it. I do understand what people see here. There is a chemistry between the two of them that is really fun to watch.
mm,
My annoyance is with the people who are insistent that they're making the show worse by not following it, or that
no,
they are spiting everybody by not doing it. It's like, no,
no,
that's just
it's not.
that's what they wanted to do in the first place, and the fact you're
Yeah,
not
I
listening
I
to them is really
really
annoying.
resent. Yeah, I really resent that mindset where it's like, oh, if I'm not getting what I want in my TV, then they're doing it on purpose. It's like, well, maybe they just have a different vision and a different story.
It's
It's a
like,
different
could you maybe
relationship
just enjoy the story that is being told to you as opposed to the one that
for
you're
what it
trying to
is.
make it into?
Yeah, and I felt like they kind of even threw a bone at the end with like Will Poulter and Io
Oh,
or Sid and
you
whatever,
saw that as
like
well
kind of
because I was
being,
sitting there like,
yeah, of
those
course,
those two should
yeah,
fuck,
yeah, and they're probably
and
gonna, and I think that's the
and that would
setup.
be good for her.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, yeah, way healthier than don't want her to end up with Carmen, who's been
No,
abusive
absolutely
to
not.
her like this last season, who's like yelling at everyone and losing his
This is
mind.
my trouble.
And the
I've been staunchly like Kami's like previous seasons. Like Kami's not abusive. He's just angry and he points that at people. And I found myself reticent to call Kami abusive. He is at this point being abusive to
he
people.
is this
Um,
season, yeah,
but I
and
don't.
they did that very.
I
I think
just.
they're very intentional with the flashbacks
Mhm.
of the chef. I can't remember the chef's name
It's
with
John
him like
McHale. We can just
overlapping
call
with
him John
him.
McHale.
John McHale. Yeah,
John.
yeah. And so like showing like he's becoming that person because he thinks that's the right way to and so it's
But
like
I
you are
think that
becoming the thing you
that
hated.
moment, which is why I can't judge the entire thing properly, is I think that he's actually finally caught sight of himself and been like, "Oh fuck, I'm really going down this road at this point."
I don't know because I have no idea what it was. That point of the scene was. I talked to my friend Dennis, who's a filmmaker, and he loves the bear. He was the one who originally was like, "Brian, you have to watch this," a while ago, and I just didn't. And he became obsessed with it. He's like, "Season three's out," and we talked about it the other day, and he's like, his point was, he was saying like, I don't really know what the takeaway was with that scene because we don't have the resolution. We don't know how Carmi's going to be. He talked to Olivia Colman's chef, which I love that scene. That was a lovely moment.
I was
He
hoping
didn't go
he'd
to
say
the party.
something.
Oh yeah, me too. And he didn't go to the party with them. So you don't really know if he learned his lesson. You don't know. I don't really know what the takeaway was. Where it's like, oh, maybe he was right. Maybe I become that person. Maybe like we don't really know what that is because we don't have any resolution to the story. And that
Yeah.
is still. It's like, oh, that's
The
that really bothers
biggest
me.
impression that I've gotten from him at this point is that he's forgotten why he wants to cook. And I don't think that he's found his way back to the reason to do this
Right.
thing at this point. He's
Right.
just doing it because it's the thing he knows how to do. And
Yeah.
losing Mikey, it's like all of his like loss and trauma and loss, and the fact that he, can only seem to feel better, but even not, then he's not feeling better. He's just feeling comfortable in these chaotic environments.
Yeah.
He's actively running away from the things that he said in that chiller. And one of the things I actually did really like about that first episode is when he's talking to Sid he's like, I'm not going to leave you alone again. And in his mind, I think he's like, I've not left. I'm right here. And it's like, no, you've emotionally left though. You've abandoned the reason that you've done this in the first place. You've abandoned the reason that you picked her to be your
Right.
partner. And
Well,
all of these
kind of
bits and pieces. Please
furthering
continue.
your point, what you're saying earlier about their relationship, I think that's what made the first two seasons so lovely. Is like he was a mentor to her, and
And
you go
yeah.
from mentor to then partner and equal. And now what's like that one scene where he almost tries to say sorry, but then he just invites her to the thing, and then, like that was like there could have been something really beautiful. You could have a mini resolution to something, but you just kept that too
that
for season bloody
that moment,
what
I think,
4.
is
This thing
why
is so loud. Sorry,
I
I'm just
honestly
gonna
can't
go
hear
on
it, so
noise
you are
canceling.
fine.
Okay, cool.
That is the reason I wrote this down, because he said, I don't want to make it so hard to keep up with me, and that's as far as he got. And I was like,
Yeah.
but it's also why I'm like, I get frustrated with Sid, because Sid, as much as she is clearly having doubts, won't voice them to anybody. She's like
I
sitting
know.
there and she's like,
Which
she won't express the ways that, I mean, she will say that Kami is being a dick, but she won't say, like, hey, you're cutting me out, you're doing this, you're doing that. She doesn't voice
mhm.
these things. She just goes, ow, and then, like, internalizes them, which is why they're very
which
similar.
yeah, which to me was really problematic because that was not her character the first two seasons. She
Oh,
was
no,
always
it's
very straightforward,
no,
very direct.
she has, no, I actually very much disagree. She does this.
Oh, interesting.
I think she's done this since the beginning, because like she will voice when she's annoyed about something, but she won't voice the
Hmm.
actual thing that is bothering her. She will just say that, oh, you're hurting me, or like she'll react. She doesn't actually talk about the things that actively. So the point where in episode 7 in the first season, when
With
everything goes
Richie.
tits up, she doesn't like
Yeah.
actually go, hey, we need to like stop doing this, I made a mistake, and all this sort of stuff. I understand that he's like being insane at that point. She leaves. And that's what she kind of does. She exits out of things when she finds it too difficult to express that actually she's
Mm,
feeling like spoken over, or like, and it's the ways that she gets made to feel small, or that she feels small in those moments. She doesn't know how
sure.
to express those moments. There are other moments where she expresses like frustration and like, hey, you're being a dick right now, but when they are specifically about her and like her worth, basically she shuts down entirely, and she refuses to actually talk on like, hey, you're doing things that are making me feel like I'm not a part of this team. And that is about her
That's interesting.
self-worth, and she hasn't
Sure.
figured out
And
how to express those things yet, and that those are the things she needs to express to Kami, and she hasn't done at any point
which
really.
is interesting because she said it to Richie. She was like very clear in that episode where it's like, you're a loser, you're worthless. What do you even do here? She was very clear about that in that episode, season 7, or episode 7, season 1, season 7. Oh, jumping.
I don't think we're going to
But
get
I
that
think
far.
no, I think it's probably going to end season 4.
I think so too.
I get what you mean with Carmi, that there is like that respect, and there's a difference. There's a different where she says, you're a wonderful or a great, great cook, but you're an asshole, I think is what she says to him
Mm.
in season one, right? In episode 7.
It's yeah.
Yeah, and then I just wish, and then she has a panic attack, which I get is like the parallel of like Carmi,
I
like she's
This is the
becoming
thing. They're
him.
too similar, which is part of the reason why I'm like, why would you ever want these two together? They are so terrible. They would enable each other in the worst possible ways. It's just like, I think there are ways that they could absolutely make each other better, but at this point, they're both in such terrible places that they are only making each other worse because they refuse to communicate. So one of them has to
Yeah,
step up and be like, you need to engage with me right now. I'm going to engage with you in this way, and you need to engage with me in this way.
yeah,
I like that scene at the end when he invites her to the thing because I think in spite of everything in his mind, I'm like, of course you would be there. Like, why wouldn't you be
hmm
there?
hmm
And that's where they are not aligned properly because Sid keeps feeling like the way that he's doing things, he doesn't want her around. But in his mind, he's like, well, yeah, no, of course she's going to be there because she has to be there because like she's very important to the entire operation of this thing. I think if she and it would be make sense. Nobody outside of Kami would fault her for wanting to leave. And I think even at this point, Kami would probably be like, "Yeah, no, maybe you should go get away from me," and all this sort of stuff. But I think she's only really considering going because she feels too out of control in the space that she's in.
Yeah, I think she feels out of control. I think she feels disrespected. It's not
Hmm.
her menu anymore.
No.
He's taken the chaos menu and completely dismantled it and destroyed what she worked on. So,
Yeah.
like, I did like that one scene where it's like, and we'll do this for dinner. He's like, well, actually, we're gonna do this. What about this for this and this? We're gonna do this instead. And so it's like she has no say. It's the guise of a partnership and equality.
And this is the
But
thing. I think she thinks that he's doing that on purpose. I don't think he realizes he's doing it, and this is why I need him.
oh no, he's not
It's
malicious.
like, but this is
He's
why the
spiraling.
lack of conversation about any of it
Yeah,
is driving me nuts. Because when they do talk to each other, they're really good at getting through to each other. That conversation at the
yeah.
table in season 2 is a really good example of when they're actually on the same page.
The
Over
one
where they're
shot.
like,
Yeah, it's great.
"Hey, I'm gonna support you in this, and we're gonna, apologize to each other when we're fucking up and all this
And
sort of
they
stuff."
they didn't do it in
They
this the whole
dropped it
season. I
entirely.
missed that. I know, and that was such a beautiful, lovely. And I was like, oh, that's what a shame. They just forgot about that big
I
moment
don't
where it's
think
like
that,
we're
that
gonna
they
carry that through.
forgot about it entirely. I think that Kami's too fucked up at the moment to be able to hear reason.
I hope
Also,
so. I also.
everybody
Oh,
around
sorry.
him
Yes.
enabled him this entire season, and they really needed to not
Ye-
do that.
Except Richie, I guess. Richie
But
was the
even
one who was
Richie
trying
wasn't
to.
like calling him on it. He was just being Richie. I mean, he
I
was
thought he was
calling on
calling it on
it
in the way he
in the
could.
Richie couldn't
Yeah,
do it, but like Richie, um,
and so did
naturally
Jimmy,
needed to.
Jimmy and Natalie.
But
Yeah,
they
yeah.
weren't really doing it. They weren't like, hey, if you don't stop doing this, we're gonna go fucking broke, so change it now.
I feel like they did, but like he just doesn't matter. He's like, "Well, fix it, find a way," and he'd walk out. It's like he's reached a point where it's like you can't reason with someone like that.
I think they
He's
did it
so
too late, is
his
the
shields
trouble.
are down.
I,
Well, he cracked with, and that's it. So one thing I want to talk about was because we're just talking about the minutia and the nuance of
mm.
everything. Is the acting was phenomenal this
Oh, yeah.
season? I just want to
So,
say that because
again, well, no, it's like,
that's
performances were great. It
yeah,
was right here.
yeah. Acting was great. No one missed a beat. Could have done a little bit less with all the facts improv. I
That's
kind of
another
get
one
tired
of
with the
my.
facts, brother.
The facts were
Yep,
very funny this season, but there were times where I could have done
to a
with less
point.
with them.
Especially that scene with Claire where they go to the hospital. He's like, "Well, I thought you just left me in the bubble." And it's like it's not fun. It doesn't. It takes away. I think it negated from like the purpose of like what that scene was. And then that's kind of what I wanted to talk about was Claire, the big elephant in the room. I loved her monologue. I loved that they brought her back for that bit. I
I
thought that she it
Where did I
humanized her
literally wrote
for
it
the
down
first
somewhere?
time.
I went, God, do I have even thoughts on Claire? No, because they're really all about Kami. I don't think they're getting
Right.
back together, but I still love the vulnerability he had with her. And then I specifically noted the the opening of episode 4.
Yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed, yeah, and enjoyed that she actually got to talk about her being a fucking doctor and being
Hmm.
like, someone who has obviously being a chef is high stakes, but not life and death, and it
Hmm.
put it into perspective. And I remember when the fallout happened, which in retrospect, because I had to read through all the Reddits
Hmm.
later on, all the news articles, because I watched all this show in about 3 weeks.
Hmm.
The fallout with Claire being a manic pixie dream girl, she kind of was written that way for season 2,
Yeah.
which was also kind of how Carmi viewed her. And so now I feel like we're seeing her as she actually is as a person, as someone who struggles with, empathy, being so empathetic, but then having to like watch people suffer. Excuse me. You actually see her as who she is, which I loved. Um, but then there's no, again, the fact that it's one season split apart into two,
Mm,
almost her ghost, like Mikey was for the first two seasons,
mm.
is peppered throughout this season. And there's just no resolution to anything. There's no way that he grows it's just,
That
oh, I'm thinking about
whole
her. I don't want
thing
to.
doesn't feel to me like a man who is like really broken up over the fact that he's like lost somebody that he cares about. It like, and
Yeah.
this is the thing about Claire that I honestly doesn't bother me too much because I think there are so many great female characters in this show. Um, Claire is, by all accounts, a metaphor more than she is a
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that that's a bad thing because I think that that can be a really handy storytelling tool. It's just that people get really annoyed when that is a thing when it's female characters doing that for male characters. Um,
Yeah.
I don't mind it in this situation because I think that she's obviously she's like a relic from his past that is very much like him in a lot of ways and is more of a thematic like she is yeah, like you said, she's kind of like an emblem of like purity and all this sort of thing. He's like started idealizing her after the fact as well. Like he keeps seeing her as like he in that episode 9 where I did find the episode description. I love reading episode descriptions for shows,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
ones that
Yeah.
keep them really really minimal. It says Kami
One
thinks about
sentence.
apologizing, and it's like, yeah, he did think
Yeah.
about it. He didn't do it.
For 5 minutes with really weird sound design where there's two songs playing over each other, and then you just see flashbacks, and it's like then he just walks away, and then there's nothing. Yeah, it was
um,
a weird scene.
uh, he he he's got he's. I don't think his relationship with her is not really like I is more of like a metaphor for his relationships to the idea of joy and healthy like relationships with other people and all of these sorts of things. It was
Hmm.
just like emblematic of that more than it is like, which is why I don't think that she's gonna have much say or like impact in the rest of his life. The rest of his character arc with her will be about apologizing but also recognizing that he's not made for her. I don't think he was ever like those two were never going to be. I don't.
But then that's to me that. Do you mind if I jump in?
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
I
go
don't
ahead.
mean to interrupt you. Just I feel very passionate, and also the other stuff in my life.
Mm.
I'm a little bit more outspoken today. What I think becomes potentially problematic and difficult for me is then it plays into the trope of the suffering artist a lot. Um, and I think, they're setting her up as like the one potential love of his life, unless they do like a 500 Days of Summer thing at the very end where like it wraps it up and like, otherwise he's going to end up alone. He's going to maybe resolve his thing with food, but he's still going to be a cook. And I just, I'm concerned that they're going to go, because I don't really know and that's why I didn't like about the last episode of season three was I'm like, what is this? Where is this going with like suffering for food? And like, is it
He's
worth it? Is it not? Like, what's the theme of this now? Because it felt very clear the first two seasons, and now it's like all muddied to me because we don't
I
have the full
think we're
resolution.
heading back to a place because I don't think Kami's like happiness was ever going to lie in a person. I think his happiness comes from finding family, and I think he's lost sight of
Hmm.
the fact that the people in his life, his sister Richie, everybody who works at the Bear, all of these people are
Did
family, and he's not. And Sid, very importantly, these are all people that this is the place that his like good energy, his love should be going, not a singular person that's meant to be holding all of his happiness, which is what he was doing with Claire, where he's like, I'm going
hmm
to what's the word I'm looking for? Experiment with
supplement?
engaging in happiness and
Yeah.
joy, and he put all that on Claire, which wasn't fair to her in any way, shape, or form, when he should have been putting
Yeah.
it in community. And the entire theme of the show, in a lot of ways, has been about community because of the way that they've been showing Chicago as a place where people are like constantly coming together.
Hmm.
It's like they show it in the way that, and it's all about all of the chefs that are happy with themselves do it because they really like sharing in the experiences of like giving food to other people. So Kami's like
Yeah.
the healthy
Yeah.
part of his arc to me has always been about finding his way back to like reconciling with his family and recognizing that all of the people around him are where he should be,
Hmm.
allowing himself to feel that love and also give that love in return.
That's really well said, Katie. It actually kind of makes me recontextualize and reframe which I think they still could have done a little bit less of, but
Mm,
with all the chefs talking about
mm,
why they, the documentary bits that you're talking about. And then I'm realizing now, because I kind of skipped through it because I got bored of it. I was just losing focus and having a tough day that day, given everything. And I just want to see what would happen. But I think I remember there are bits of it where Carmi's just staring at,
mm.
uh, you
He's
know,
not
um,
engaging in the
Joel
space
and the
where
kid.
he
Yeah.
should be recognizing
Right.
and
Right.
like participating in the sense of community that came out of the fact that all of these people share something in common,
Yeah.
and it is service. That is really the theme of a lot of the show, and the theme that came out of Forks hugely was that Richie
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was the one who learned the lesson of like to serve is to give something to
Yep.
somebody else and give them joy, and Kami's
And,
moved in the
and
opposite direction of that.
Right. It's minimalism. It's about the perfection. It's obsession. And
Mm,
well, it's gone into it. What's interesting is that we have a Forks episode. We had a lot of one character like studies this
mm-hmm.
season. And one of my favorites, probably my favorite episode this season was Tina's episode,
Napkins.
directed by Io,
Yeah.
who plays Sydney. And with Mikey, played by John Bernthal,
Mm-hmm.
you have that sense of community again. You see why, like that, what you were just saying, that was that theme. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
that there's that care, that love, that kindness, that empathy that comes out of um, restaurant culture, especially like I think it was kind of a commentary in Chicago, but also to show the dichotomy of where Carmi is and who Michael was
Right.
as well. I thought that was the most the bear felt to me this season.
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. Yeah. But I'm looking at my notes again. I wrote Kami
yeah,
needs to fix his relationship with Richie because at this point, Kami needs to be the one who actually fixes the relationship with Richie because Richie's not gonna fucking do it. And kind of quite rightly, I love Richie, but the two of them. There's a couple of shots in this season that I absolutely fucking adored. Actually, where they're
mm.
so obviously still on the either side of the fridge.
Oh, lovely.
Mwah, that
Yeah,
is
that's brilliant.
beautiful. I love that. I love that entirely. Yeah, I said episode one
Yeah.
was a highlight for me. I know you said you didn't like it, or like didn't like all of it. Ice Chips is my favorite episode of the season, which is Natalie's episode with her mother.
I to
I
me,
thought it was great.
yeah. I really did like it moved me emotionally. I really loved the acting.
Hmm.
I thought there was some missed opportunities, and mainly the thing that really bothered me was it was just shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot
It's
the entire
not
time.
the
And
most interestingly
dynamic. Yeah.
dynamic episode, but I'm
Yeah.
not like bothered entirely by that because to me that
Mm.
was a one room quiet episode of two people talking. I don't There's
Wh-
not a whole lot you can do to make that entirely interesting.
I
But
had a thought about that.
the very
What if you
close
made it
ups
into
were occasionally like a bit much. I found a little bit this season.
yeah, there was quite and then also in season or episode 9 too with like Jimmy and Carmi, like their faces were just so close. But I was talking to my friend and he came up with the idea is like what if half the episode of Ice Chips was a oneer? You could have totally, because it was all in one room, you could have totally achieved that.
You could have,
And I
but
think that would have shown.
I think you missed the what they were. I think, and I can think what they were going for was to, uh, by being that close up, holding on the emotion of the two people that they were in this conversation. I think that was probably more
Mhm.
what they were. And I think by doing it as a oneer, you're more likely to. I think it would be more like a play, and what you don't get in a play is that really close attention to like what's going on in a person's face. And I think that was more what they were going for because I mean Jamie Lee Curtis fucking brings the house down in that
Yeah, she's
episode,
great. Yeah,
as does Abby
yeah.
Elliott. The two of them together were really
Hmm.
really incredible. I just loved like it was more the writing in the episode that I really loved. I loved the way that everybody's birth story represented who they were and who they've become as a person, and how Mikey didn't want to come out and he crawled back up inside,
Hmm.
and how
Hmm.
Kami's birth was just so chaotic and it was awful and like nothing went correct as it should have done, and then just Natalie was calm and basically didn't want to bother anybody.
Well, it's right. It's the child dynamics, right? For
It
second,
was like
third
all of
child,
it
like
was
middle
just the
child.
way that
Yeah.
they peppered those in throughout, and I love the fact that she was able to actually have the like I think honestly it's probably part of the reason why it was my favorite episode of this, one of my favorite episodes of the season, and I think it is my favorite episode of the season, was because I feel like it's the only place anybody got any resolution in that.
Yeah, I
um
know. I know.
Natalie was able to be like, you scared me as a child. You like the way that you were scared me, and I don't want to feel like my kid has to walk on eggshells to be around me. And to be able to actually like have that as like a proper back and forth between two people who are actually willing to hear each other for the first time. I think that's part of. I didn't really put that together until now, but I think that is a big part of why that resonated well for me, because it feels like the only
Yeah.
place where anybody got any kind of
I completely
resolution.
agree. Completely agree. And even that was a bit suspect. We don't really know if Donna changes. We don't really know
I
if like
don't.
her
I think
attitude,
she'd
because I
already
would hope so.
changed. I think at that point, I think the important part was
Mm,
that they were able to see each other for the first time properly,
hmm.
as opposed to actively changing. Because I think Donna's already done a lot of work, but she needed, both of them needed that space to be able to say the things that they wanted to say. Especially Natalie needed to be able to express her fear about being a mother and why her mother was what part of the reason for that, and also that Donna's mother was the reason that she was the way she was,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
was it's put in there very quietly, but I did enjoy that a lot.
Yeah.
And I also like the fact that she went from resenting the fact that she felt like her mother was like being overbearing to actually, no, as much as her mother has fucked up a lot in her life, she had a lot of advice that was actually incredibly helpful. And when she started listening to it, she, was able to take it on board and be like, oh no, this is actually helping. You have got
Hmm.
experience that I can listen to and take on and use.
Yeah, and what I think was interesting, which I liked about this, the character study of Donna,
He,
is like
he.
she's not, yeah, the he, yeah, eventually she's like he, and she's like actually doing it. She's not fully healed. I don't think someone,
Mm-mm.
she's been through a lot, and like that would take a long, long time.
Mm.
And it doesn't just suddenly happen overnight.
Oh
And so
no.
there's still those remnants of like abuse and like overbearing and obsession that's going on to her children throughout
Mm.
the episode. But then I think what Natalie does throughout, they both, I think Natalie changes more so
Mm.
because I think a lot of Donna's change happens off screen.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah. The whole
Going into this
that whole
episode,
quote like thing was about more about Natalie
y-
than it was about Donna.
yeah, exactly. And Natalie, I think, learns, which again, I feel like it's a little bit like, oh, is that a good message to take away? I think mostly, but like she learns to have a relationship with the mother she has as opposed to the mother she always wanted.
I
And she takes the good with the without, leaving the bad behind, I think. But it's also like Donna still probably has proclivities that aren't the healthiest to
Well,
her
yeah,
children,
but like
perhaps. And
it's more about the fact that she's able to let go of a lot of things that would have
hmm.
held her back in being a
Yeah,
mother. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I think she
Right.
gets to let go a lot of the fear that she's been clearly holding on to the entire time. When everybody's like, "Hey, it's
Hmm.
really exciting! It should be happening soon," and she's like clearly having a panic attack about it, being like, "Oh God, I'm going to be my mother."
Right, right.
But I think that it was less about like, oh great, I'm gonna have a relationship with my mother, and more about I think I've understood my mother properly for the first time, and now I can move and let go of some of the resentment, which is less about like
I
actively
like that.
forgiving her and more about just
Yeah.
being able to grow and be better for her child.
I like that reading. That's a good interpretation. Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, that's a good reframe.
it's just
No,
yeah,
no, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it those are the things that I really really liked about that episode.
Mm.
To go back a little bit because you mentioned napkins, which was yeah good. I love Tina anyway. So it was a really really nice episode. I believe the man playing her husband is actually her husband,
It's her husband.
which is just
Yeah.
very cute. And I
Yeah, it
wanted to
is.
mention it. I love the whole conversation between her and Tina was sorry, her and Mikey was really
Mm.
lovely. But mostly because I really like the
Yeah,
way that we've been
yeah.
seeing a different side of Mikey every season. That's kind of
I
like
was,
rounding him
yes.
into a full person for us. So we've
Yeah,
gotten
because the
like the
first
way that
season,
Kami saw him,
right,
and then we got the way that he was like the volatile nature of him, the white, the damage, the things about him that were incredibly damaged, and
near the end.
yeah, and just
Yeah.
like how he was in relationships with the rest of the family, and how like that was like had a ripple effect on everybody around them.
Hmm.
Like he was big, was Mikey. But I think that this is my favorite sort of like edge almost or corner to him, and where we
Shade of
got
him.
to, yeah, shade of him, where we got to see the version of Mikey that everybody at the beef knew, the one that was like, the guy who everybody depended on and loved, and was like so surprised
Hmm.
when he left them so soon. Because he was the guy who,
Yeah.
because I love the fact that he was, Kami describes him as being like always knowing how to take the temperature of your room and all this sort of stuff. And
Hmm.
when you see Tina crying in the corner, he's like, I don't know what the fuck thing to say to her is, except that he comes over and is immediately able to relate to her properly.
Yeah.
So it's almost like Kami idealized him, but also in a still had the shades of him correct, but like turned them up to 11 almost, like
Yeah.
perfecting those things about
I
him.
think the best character development of this whole season was Tina and Mikey. I
Yeah.
think you understood why Tina was so upset and resentful of Sid when she first got to the
Mm-hmm.
restaurant, because she felt she had been, replaced over and over by younger people telling
Okay.
her what to do, and then she
Uh-huh.
realized, so you got the context. She's not a bitter person, but she had been, what is it called, spited so many times, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. So that gave context for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with Mikey, to me, I really like what you said about that. I think, the first season, like you said, we see how Carmen, the kind of the ghost, the perfect brother
Mm-hmm.
interpretation of who he was. Second season, you get him when he's in the middle of when near the end, when in his drug use,
Mm-hmm.
where he's growing the beard and he's starting to give up on himself. And then to me, this was the most real whole version of who Michael was, that this is who he was
Mm-hmm.
consistently. He said, basically he's like, oh, it's shitty, my life's shitty, but like, I can still talk to someone, I can relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the joy that he has with talking to someone and that connection. And that's what food was to him. That's what the bear or the beef was to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed that, of like, it feels like we're getting glimpses of this person who was actually, him and Tina were my favorite characters this season in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
liked that. I feel like I should mention Marcus, but also the show is really
I
they keep doing this thing where they set up really interesting things for Marcus, but
yeah.
Marcus as inherently as a character will never
Yeah.
talk about himself. And also is like, it's not like he's okay with the fact that his mother died. He's just more healthy about it than anybody else. I think he's just like,
I just
I think he, but
I mean
like,
that
I
was
think it's really interesting that that almost takes him to a point of enabling Kami unintentionally.
right.
I think it's
Well,
weird
they
that
have that like
he's come around to this point where he understands Kami the most out of
yeah, the
anybody, but will
obsession.
never like. He's so calm. You don't get a. He's not a big like. I mean, he is a big presence because I love Marcus, and he's such a warm space. I think
Hmm.
when he
Hmm.
comes on screen, and is always so lovely. And I really want to know what that violet dessert looks like. I want to see it.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
looks really
Yeah.
interesting. He's in the middle of making something. It's probably going to be really good. I have a feeling it may save the day in some way. I'm not sure yet though. Um,
Yeah, I I had a problem with what they did with Marcus too. I love the acting
mm,
and the actor too. He was part of Odd Future with Tyler back in the day, which is really, really cool if you guys are any rap fans out there.
hmm,
But Tyler, the creator.
mm,
And he became an actor. I think this is one of his first big acting roles. He's phenomenal in it. I think what I had a problem with was they kind of he's such an emotional character. He feels so much. He's like
mm,
the highly sensitive character of the group the first two seasons. And then his mom dies and he just kind of shuts down.
mm,
And I think they only let him cry once when he's like in her room and then
mm,
he turns on the machine
mm,
and then that's it. And then the whole resolution with Sid, where she's like, "Oh, let's just not talk about it." He's like, "Oh, okay." And like he's like, basically, I just want to say sorry. And then there's so much setup for him, and I felt like they just really let him down. Because to me, he was one of the most interesting characters of season two.
mm.
Um, I loved his arc. I loved his development, where his growth went, his passion for food, his joy. He was what Carmi could be with joy, with
Mm.
food, with the joy and the the passion,
I
but healthy.
find it very interesting that the only times that Kami has moments of like, am I fucking this up? He's asked
Was
Marcus
with
about them, and Marcus goes,
uh
I think you're doing what you need to do. And it's like, you're asking the
he
wrong person at the wrong time.
he he also asked what's the character's name? Avon, I want to say, is that the character's
Abra?
name? The
I
the
think.
guy, Abra?
I
Yeah,
think it's
I'm getting
Abra.
confused with the actor who
Yeah.
plays Richie, and yeah.
Yeah.
where he runs into, or no, he drops the sandwiches, the buns
Eh.
he was making. He's like, "Am I fucking this up?" He's like, "No, I ran into you. I dropped them."
It's like that's
And he's
not the
like, "Oh,
question.
okay."
It's like stop
Yeah, yeah,
asking the
exactly.
wrong people. Like, Kami.
I did like the moment in episode two where he goes to Marcus, Carmen, and he
Hmm.
says, "Hey, grieve, like, don't do what I did." Because he says, like, Marcus says, "Did you grieve? Did you, like, take your own advice?" Like, no,
No.
no, and that's why I'm like, I am the way I am. I love that self-awareness, and I was hoping that would lead to something, and then it didn't. So there's a lot of breadcrumbs that will probably be resolved
Yeah,
in
yeah.
season four, but yeah, I mean, it's because I love the show and I love how real it is and authentic the first two seasons were, and how they talk like real people, and
Hmm.
everyone makes sense and things come back around, and felt like that was
It was
just
such a
everything was
short
stretched.
episode, but I actually really did like the second episode because it was mostly just that argument between him and Richie, but I thought that was really
Me
fun to
too.
watch.
I thought that was as opposed, or cohesively with the whole group. I thought that was the best episode with
Mm,
everyone in it. That
yeah.
felt like it was a box episode, but I thought that
Mm,
was really there was movement, and it was funny. There was a lot of
mm.
humor because like
I think
fast
this
paced,
is the
almost.
funniest season, actually, funnily enough, so far. And I
Yeah,
think it's mostly because of the
yeah,
facts. Again, I still think we
yeah,
could
yeah,
have done with less of them, but I did enjoy the bits with like some of the bits where they came in and were like I think because I think they knew it was going to be such a heavy season in terms of other things. I think they
yeah.
were like, none of these other characters are going to get a chance to actually be funny in our show that we keep putting forward is in the comedy category at the Emmys. So we need other people to be funny for us. So we'll just bring these two in. I screeched when John Cena came on
John
screen.
Cena. Yeah.
I just as much like I don't know if it like I did like the way that they brought in that concept of being haunted by something of like
Hmm.
that whole thing being used as like a metaphor for what's happening to Kami in that like
Hmm.
this is a karmic thing that is happening to him like he's fucking up this much because the universe is basically going you need to sort your shit out and actually go and apologize otherwise we're going to keep fucking things up for you.
It's like a curse,
It's like a
basically.
curse,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's like, I like the whole like, concept of it, and I mean, the three of them together was extremely funny.
yeah,
Even if
yeah.
it was a little bit much, and I'm happy to admit that. I still got some enjoyment out of it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I love the actor. I don't know who. I couldn't find his name. I tried to find it on IMDb. Who played Uncle Gary? Who comes in?
The computer.
It's like the guy. No, 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 no. No. It was the guy who was the other Fack. Who had like long hair, older guy. He tells a really wild story about being haunted. And then he walks away. He's only in for like one scene. I'm like, that was some of the
Oh
craziest.
yeah.
I love that acting. It was really, really cool. I loved how you got more. Speaking of Gary, also AKA Sweeps in the show, who's never really in the show, especially this season.
Oh,
I like how they gave him more
the
time.
learning how, about wine tasting. Is that who am I thinking of?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Yeah, I like how he had that scene, and that was a nice moment.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really solid actor. I really
Mm.
like what he does. So that was nice. But I just felt like the
It is.
writing,
It's a
like,
meandering season,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm so reticent to judge it properly because of that fact. Like I said before,
But
I
I
was
think
like,
that means we should judge it more because it is a whole season and it was worked on, but without it being complete. Like to me, that feels worse than it being like so much happens, but it meandered. Like they did their best, but they weren't trying to split it apart. Do you know what I mean? Like that,
yeah, it's like I feel it, but I
I
still
guess.
feel like I'd be able to give it a fairer shot when I know the other half of the story.
Sure, sure, that makes sense. Yeah, context.
If I can go, okay, I see what they were going for here. I still think that they did it wrong, but like I in as many in so many words, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
um
yeah,
uh, I I I mean I'll be honest. As much as like I thought to kind of bring back the analogy of like middle book, middle movie kind of feelings, um, I was I wasn't as impressed with Across the Spider Verse as I was with Into the Spider Verse because because Across
mm-hmm,
the Spider Verse
mm-hmm.
for me is a load of setup and we don't know what the other half of it is yet. So
Yeah, me too.
when I watched it, I was like, I can't judge this properly yet because I've only watched half a movie.
It was the same thing with, I remember when Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest came out and it ended with basically a giant cliffhanger to be continued. And I was like, to me, it becomes TV, like old, like cliffhanger TV, like, well, he survived the fall. Find out next week. Tune in to Flash, that type of thing. And it cheapens it to to some extent, if there's no conclusion, if there's no resolution, because that's also, I don't know. There's many resolutions throughout sometimes everyone's days,
Yeah,
and
you're
weeks,
right.
and it's like you get
There
none of
should
that.
have been like
So
a little bit of internal
yeah,
resolution
exactly.
in order to make it
Emotional
like,
resolution.
yeah, and it's like it didn't need to do all of it, but like you needed to show a step in any direction. We'll get into it probably next week when because we're going to be doing The Boys and Acolyte next week in one episode.
Yeah.
So even if you won't have anything to say about The Boys, please still join us for the Acolyte part.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And you'll be able to listen to myself and Lily talk about it. But it's kind of where I'm at with The Boys at the moment, and with
Mm-hmm.
like that whole universe in general, where for me, kind of feels like they're treading the same water a lot, and we're not resolving anything, and it's starting. I mean, it has been for me personally feeling quite hard to watch, because I'm like, I don't see what direction this is going in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see what movement, where we're heading to, because every time I feel like you're going in a certain place, you kind of end up in the same place as before, but like a little bit to the left, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like that. That happens a lot in spaces. I know pacing is hard. Pacing is so difficult, but it feels like collectively a lot of things have gotten worse at it, especially over
Yeah, and I
time.
think, yeah, and to go off that point, yeah, I think that's really well said. And the fact is, both The Boys, but because I stopped watching after last season, my parents have been watching it. They've been saying the same thing. I
Mm,
know next season is when it ends.
mm,
They said, thank goodness, just because it does feel meandering and kind of
mm.
pointless in some ways. But with The Bear, I think there's also an aspect of, the first season, it was this sleeper hit.
Yeah,
We didn't know any of the
it was
actors,
really
for the most part. It was
contained.
very contained. It was very focused. And then second season too, it was more well known, but it was still kind of like, oh, there's this show, you should give it a try. Now, Jeremy Allen White has been in Iron Claw.
Hmm.
Io has been, she's been, I think, offered a bunch of different, like all these
Oh
people
yeah,
are
I
now
was having a
names,
great time.
and
She's doing so well,
and
and good
she's
for her.
terrific, and she deserves it. Yeah, she's terrific. She really is. She's one of my favorite actors on the show. What I think has happened is the show has gotten bigger than like the concept ever thought it would be, I guess. And I think it's also buckling under the weight of that
I think
in
there's a
in
little bit of
aspects
that,
too.
but for me as well, I think that they've gotten to the point where they were like, we've got this one season, we have a story to tell here. I think the fact it feels to me that this was too, it was far too conceived as two seasons when they didn't have enough
Mm,
material to pad those two
hmm.
seasons.
Yeah.
So this ended up meandering, as you said. So they had to like fill it with space that like could have been cut to make something tighter. It might not have fit in. What was it? Was it 10 episodes again this season? I can't actually remember.
Yes.
Yes, it was 10.
Season one was
I
eight. The
think
last two were 10.
I don't know if it would have hit in 10 episodes to do what they were planning to do, and maybe that's why they decided to elongate it and split it in half and all this sort of stuff. But I feel like it might have been better as like one season that lasted 14 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
That it was
Yeah.
just a bit longer, and that actually maybe even if you wanted to still split the actual season in half instead of making it two separate seasons. I don't know. I don't
And
know.
how again how much of it is like, hey, FX or I guess Hulu now owns it. It's like, hey, make two seasons now because we'll give you more money. It's like how
Nah,
much of it is also the industry.
this feels like a creative choice that
Interesting.
misfired to me,
Okay.
personally. It
Yeah.
feels like it feels like an attempt at structuring something differently, but they hit it wrong for me,
Mm,
and for a lot of
that's
people
fair.
watching. I still think that a lot of the reaction to it comes from a lot of people who don't recognize how stories are told. Because
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of reasons to be frustrated with it, but people are getting frustrated with it in the wrong way.
Mm,
um
mm.
because it's like a lot of people being like, well, this isn't going anywhere. It's like, well, it's obviously going somewhere, they're just taking too long to get there.
Yeah, yeah, and it's retreading the same ground. They're spinning their wheels a lot throughout
And
this
it's
season. I felt.
hard
Yeah.
to I think successfully have a character regress and make it interesting.
Yeah.
um because like in order to do that, I think you kind of need to do it faster in order to make it work. For me, like
And
at
I
least
think,
I think because it's difficult to show a character going, because people do regress.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
yeah, of
But they
course.
don't regress so far that they have to really struggle to get back to where they were. They tend to regress a little
Well,
bit into where they used to be, but have a version of the way that they had improved.
yeah.
Regression doesn't look like I've gone this far. Oh, I've hit a wall. I'm going straight back to the beginning. It goes. Oh, I've gone back here because I still have the knowledge of where I was when I did all this stuff. And I think that we are in that place with Kami, but it's just like he's gone like almost down here as opposed to being on the
What's
line.
yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because what I think is disturbing in some ways, not in like the classical sense, but just like in the storytelling sense, is he was, I would say, emotionally healthier at the start of season one,
Mm,
in a lot of ways. And I think what's happening is they're retroactively showing how messed up he felt and was, and
mm.
mentally, he calls himself mentally ill at one point at the end of finale.
Still some of
Um,
my favorite little moments
and
from the early seasons is like I think episode 2. I think it's the second episode, but it might be the first episode of the first season where he's on the phone to Natalie. He goes, "Yeah, sometimes I wake up screaming. Everybody I know does that." He's
yeah,
like
yeah, right,
so
exactly. And
blasé about it. Or then the beginning of season 2 when the alarm goes off, he goes, "Is that in
he
my head?"
goes, yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
just those
Yeah,
little
so you
moments
see
where I'm like,
moments,
I
but
fucking love this guy.
yeah, but he's more right. He's more. There's like a more self-awareness, whereas I think they're retroactively showing how abused he was, how messed up he felt
Mm,
when he was at cooking school,
yeah.
and then showing it like, well, he was, he's just returned back to that. But it's like, but we didn't see that, and so now you're
I
making up
don't
those
think he
scenes and
has
then be like,
returned
he's
to that.
returned to that.
Not
I think
really.
that's what I took from that. Is like I think he's like on the
I get what you
default.
mean. I don't think he's
Yeah,
returned to it. I think he's
I think that's what they're
what's
trying to show. I don't
I
think he
think
has, but I think that's what they're trying to
I don't
indicate,
know. I
like
think
trying
it's
to allude
more
to.
that he's because I don't think he had enough power to be in that space before almost because I think
Hmm.
to say he was at that I think that it's more of in the face of stress and shutting down emotionally, he's gone to the behavior that was learned from John McHale's
Right.
character.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
And this is the first time it's like had to express itself quite so violently, I guess, is the best
Hmm.
way to put it, because he's in a position of actual power this time.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
in a big restaurant where he's like he owns the place and all this. I know he owned the beef before, but now it's like they've made it into a thing, you know.
Fine dining.
It's
Yeah.
fine dining, and he it's actually it's why I like that conversation so much. Where he's like you ruined me. But I think he's the first time he's like he's got a bunch of stuff in him that he's not had any space to really express anywhere or like known that he needed to
Hmm.
express. So he's like, I'm gonna say this to you, but I love the fact that he because like confronting somebody who is the source of that much trauma for you never goes the way you want it to. It's never satisfying, and it's why I like it so much because he's like, I don't fucking care, dude. It's like
Well, yeah,
I
and then
made
his
you
his
good
his in,
anyway.
right, his indignance. I made you excellent. Which, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
I think that scene is going to come out a lot better with whatever we get in season 4.
I hope so.
It was because I'm. It's why I wanted. I think we should probably wrap up soon because we've been going
I
for
think
so
so
long.
too.
I just
Yeah,
really like
we
talking about
yeah.
this.
No, me too, me too.
Um, I'm of the belief that an ending can color the rest of the thing that you've watched with a better brush, basically. Because there's a lot
Hmm.
of things that I have watched, especially movies, that I've been watching them and going, I'm not enjoying myself. There's something about this that's not sitting right with me, and I don't like it. And then the ending has retroactively gone, oh, everything else that I've just watched suddenly makes sense. It's great. Like it's like tied the whole thing together. That's why
Hmm.
I'm such a proponent for when endings are good because like you get so many soft endings that it's kind of like like I think they don't get the weight that they generally deserve.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
two that I think about and have said previously, Parasite was the first huge one for me. I saw that in the cinema. I watched it thinking I knew what the ending was, but actually it was like the end of the second act. And then when I watched the actual ending, I went, "Holy shit!
Hmm.
I've just watched a genius thing." Um,
Yeah.
Chekhov's cake is still one of the best like things I've ever seen in my life.
I haven't seen that.
Wait, no. As in the movie,
Oh, sorry.
sorry. No,
I was like, is that a separate thing?
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah. I
no,
haven't
no.
seen
In
Parasite
the
in so
movie,
long.
the cake is a Chekhov's gun, and it's
Yeah. Oh,
fucking
yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. Like Chekhov's gun. Okay, that makes
Chekhov's
sense.
cake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
follow me where I'm going here. And then
I'm trying.
why don't I just express myself properly? But also challenges
Okay.
really recently for me because I it meandered throughout the
Let me
second
see
act,
it.
and I was like, I don't know about this. And then that ending fixed everything that I had that was an irritation for me for the rest of the movie. So I have a feeling,
Mm,
or at least my hope is, here's what that I've written down in my last little bit of note, and then if you have any final thoughts,
sure.
I will not go transfer over to you. Jesus Christ.
You're
um
okay. You're okay.
I'm running out of steam. We need to end this.
Me too. No, me too. Me
Um,
too.
I
I
said,
get
I
some
see
food.
the vision, I do, but it's frustrating viewing as an audience member. I find the question then becomes, do I trust them to follow through with it?
Yeah, that's how I feel
And
too.
I
Especially
like,
with
I
the
feel
way
like
it ends.
I'm holding on to hope, but it is knocked a little bit just by how much I was like, that was annoying.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. I never like to be continued stuff, especially when they write it out, you know.
Mm.
I thought they could at least shown what the review thoroughly was instead of just like little flashes of it being kind of like a what we
It's
assume to be
hard
like
to
an average
tell
middle,
it's hard to tell if it's like that's actually what the review was, or if
or
that
it
was
could
just
be like
like all the things that Kami's been thinking about for the entire, because that's what he's been doing the entire
right,
season.
or it could be we don't really know what I call it. Could be that Sid said I don't want to do it. You know, I'm going like there's just so many things. I just wish there was some because the last two seasons there's strong resolution. There's not like that big like what happened, which
It's hard
I've
to
heard
make
almost
that
like
big of
sci-fi. Yeah.
a structure change and have it stick
Yes.
in a way that's satisfying for
Yes.
an audience, especially in a third
Agreed.
season.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's I agree with you. I completely agree. And I just hope that this will probably I really hope this is looked as like the worst of the bear because it's even so
I
like this is
think
better
so.
than most things out there.
I can't see them
It's just
going
at a
beyond
high
whatever
caliber.
a season 4 is, especially
I
with all the
hope not.
money stuff. I have a feeling the restaurant's gonna close.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I hope so. I hope they go back like I could see it being a thing like a prediction is they go back to like really smaller place. Maybe there's a time jump or something and or even without it and like he finds the community part of the food the most fascinating and
Somewhere
like lovely
between the
part.
beef and the bear, where it's like better
Yeah,
dining than the
yeah.
beef was, but like not nearly as fancy, where they go back to it being a place of like community dining, yeah, where people can come and
Because that
like,
was so absent from the season.
mm.
There was such a lack of community for the most part, I felt. So yeah, yeah. So that's I agree with you. Yeah, I think we've run the gamut on this one. So
Yeah, they literally wrote not many. What have I written here? No money left. I was like, what the
yeah,
fuck? No money left. Review was mid, we think.
mid, yeah.
Kami still has a massive lesson to learn in terms of behavior. Sid needs to learn how to express her wants and desires in full and clearly. That's really what is the trouble. Is she hasn't expressed that to anybody at any point, and she needs to express that to herself as well. It's like, God, what do you want? What
Mm,
do you actually want?
hmm.
And then I just
And
went,
Jimmy's broke now.
Jimmy is broke, and it turns out apparently nobody has any money.
Yeah.
And I just went, I just hang on, I gotta read. I can't read my own damn handwriting. Yeah, I just want them to actually be friends. That's kind of like
Yeah.
I think
I want
that's
Carmi to
my.
like anyone this season. Stop yelling at people. And
It's like
I
we
thought it
know
was
Jeremy's
yeah.
really good at yelling at people. My favorite is when he's confused about like human interaction. He's like, "Am I being an
Yeah,
idiot?"
which I know like that became a thing. Like he was really good with Marcus the first season. Like
Mm,
that he's better than he thinks with I mean that's a character and I don't know, never mind. Never mind. That's more like character analysis, less
mm.
about the writing. Doesn't matter. But yeah, I hope that there's something good in the next season and that it moves more. And I have a
See,
suspicion kind of
I
a
can't believe that we're going to be going through another season of like
well,
um
I fear
turmoil.
for the opposite. I fear that's going to be like everything happens next season. It's like, oh, okay, like this could have been spaced out. There could have been like some sort of level of like,
I think
you know what I mean?
I can see it working. I really can.
Okay.
I do. I can see. I can just see because I feel like there's nothing over 10 episodes. The things that needed to resolve, Kami and Sid just need to have a conversation. Truly, an actual conversation. And I think that will frankly resolve a lot of things. Um,
Mm.
um, a lot of truth needs to come out, just generally speaking, because I honestly think that a huge chunk of Kami's life will become a lot clearer to him if he manages to actually understand what Sid wants, and as soon as Sid actually understands what Sid wants, because I think at that point, I think she's been since the beginning his like almost lens into really understanding how to relate to other people. And it's the thing that usually calms him down. Like when he was having his panic attack before the shop restaurant opened in season 2, he thought of Kami, and that no sorry thought of Sid, and that's what calmed him
Hmm.
down. So there's like she is like the way that he relates to things. So I think that
Hmm.
having any kind of an actual conversation with the two of them genuinely talk to each other will resolve a lot of things for him, and it will make it so that he'll be able to have a conversation with Richie, because I think that's the other thing that it is will be fixed.
That just
um
was left the entire time. That was also another one. Like I'm on Richie's side at this point. Like, yeah,
I did like
yeah,
Richie's stuff this season, the whole thing of him like
yeah, me
figuring
too.
out that he's actually quite happy. I think Richie's figured out what Kami needs to figure out. It's like he's found a
Hmm.
family and a
Hmm.
space that he loves and the job that he loves doing. I like him and the girl that he learned all of the stuff from at
Yeah, yeah,
Ever.
yeah, yeah.
I think her name's Jessica. I'm like, yes,
Yeah,
I approve.
yeah, I know, I know. Yeah, chef, do that. Yeah, go that path. I think that'd be
I
lovely for
think this
both
would
of
be
them.
nice for
Yeah,
you. Please go. Yeah,
yeah.
I think that the things that are left seem big, but I think that they're solved quite easily, um, by having well placed scenes throughout the next season. Um, which I have a feeling because they've done resolution so well beforehand that I'm like, yeah, we'll get there. I think we'll get there. I'm going to
That's a
stop
good place
talking
to.
now, though.
Yeah, no, me too, me
I'm
too. Yeah,
so
good,
I
really
think
good thoughts, Katie.
um
Yeah.
if you're still listening, thank you.
And
Uh,
if you're not, completely understand.
but
Uh,
come back to this in bits if you really want, because I had a lot of thoughts. I told you I have 6 pages of notes. I had a lot of things to say. Um, Again, next week we'll be back with the boys season 4 and the Acolyte. I need to watch all of the Acolyte next week. That's my job.
mhm.
Um, and then watch this week's episode of The Boys and the last episode of The Boys, which comes out on Thursday. So we're doing a double episode, which means that we probably aren't going to do any news or catching up,
Mm.
just so that we can get straight into it, because we'll be talking about a lot of stuff. Our schedule is in the description. I've been just sort of taking out the bits that we've talked about as we're going along. So after that, we've got Sweet Home, and then we've got Deadpool and Wolverine, and we've got a week off, and then we've got Alien Romulus. At some point, we're probably going to talk about the Umbrella Academy season 4. Just haven't figured out
All
when
right,
we're doing
right.
that yet, because it's not going to be on the 9th, despite the fact that it comes on the 8th, because Lily's not available that week. Generally speaking, so we might do it afterwards. We'll see. We haven't gotten that far, in time, just generally speaking. But I will be more available at that point because I'm quitting my job.
Woo, 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 woo,
Don't tell them. I
woo.
haven't done it
You listen
yet.
to the podcast. Pretend like you didn't
They
hear
don't
that.
know. I don't talk at work. Uh,
Fair enough.
but I think that's it. Thank you for listening to both of us, but a lot of it me ramble.
No, no, you didn't. You had great, great points and thoughts, and you helped me change my view about things. So thank you, Chef.
Woohoo! Thank you, Chef, for joining me. Please like, subscribe, do all the things that one does. Share on your various social medias. Tell people that we had a really long and very cohesive conversation about this season of The Bear. Remember, we're on this episode. At this point, I was going to say for the audio listeners, it should be up on Saturday. So hopefully it will be Saturday when you're listening to this. I will need to do some editing, minor editing, after I finish here. I need to wrap up now. Season is kind of the vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
um,
accurate.
I've had to switch over to my my other
I saw
screen,
that. Yeah, I
so
saw
it's
that.
gone all
Just
dark.
hold on. You ready? Ready? Let me match you. There you go.
Excellent.
Now we're in the same boat.
Lights are off. We're going now. Goodbye, everybody, and please
Goodbye.
watch movies.
Be well.
Thank you for being here. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Again,
Bye.
the stream starting thing will come up It's not. It's ending. I still need to make another one. It's fine. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.